So welcome everyone to the last one of our offerings today of some of yoga and movement, qigong, shiatsu. It's been a pretty awesome day, very rich material. I'm really pleased with the way it's gone, simple, easy. And we've had some really cool explorations. So going to continue, and last one's just going to look at the work that I've been exploring for a while that I'm calling bone yoga. It looks at the skeleton and the way that the skeletal system works. And so it's pretty gentle. But I'll also do, there'll be some guidance that I'll do, but please feel free to move off that if you need to. So if I do make a suggestion, it really is a suggestion. And if I say do this, I don't really mean do it. It just kind of comes out a bit like that. So there's no kind of, but there's also a lot of, I do recognize that there's a balance between learning something and doing something that someone says because there's some kind of purpose behind it, but that's not the goal. That's just part of our exploration. So, yeah, probably do need to put a little bit more light on. Yeah, maybe the back ones, thanks. Okay, let's lie down. Let's start off lying down for a little while, shall we? I like beginning lying down. Just going to do a bit of work on the breath. So thanks for joining us today, everyone. And we've got about another hour that we can continue our exploration together. And just give yourself that permission to be here as fully as you possibly can. You know, I know that the world is going through some challenging times for us. So part of the idea behind all these offerings to have a place and support people so that we can kind of let go a bit of the craziness that's happening in the world and come back home to ourselves. And coming back home for me has been a real crucial part of how we can, I think, really keep our sanity in many ways. And all of us doing our yoga and meditation and breath work is really supportive of that. So while you're lying down, allowing yourself as much as possible just to let go of your mind's chatter so that you come internal, quiet mind as much as possible. And feeling the weight of your body on the floor, weight yields into the floor, the hard surface of the floor helping to define for you some contact, some shape. And as you're focusing on that yield into the floor, just for a moment, if you're able to, receive the support from the earth. And if you're able to receive that support from the earth, allow that contact to really support you and to really nourish you as a place of residence, place that you can come back to. Feeling your heels, maybe lower legs, possibly not knees, thighs, buttocks, parts of your back, head, arms. And just for a moment, let's take our awareness to the movement of our belly, rising and falling of our belly, abdomen descends, belly bulges. There's a softness and a relaxation as we allow the spent oxygen to leave our lungs. And if you're familiar with your belly moving as you breathe in, just enjoy that sensation of the inhalation, a generous pause, exhalation. and a generous pause. No strain, just really as easy as possible, mindful as possible. And maybe having your inhalation of a count of 4, pause of 1, and an exhalation of 6. Just have the exhalation a tiny bit longer than your inhalation. For most people, that supports going into the parasympathetic rest and restore a wee bit quicker. The inhale, pause, exhale, pause. Now shift your awareness to the back part of your rib cage that's in contact with the floor. And start to initiate the breath from your rib cage. And allowing some movement to happen in your rib cage. A change in your shape that then allows air to come into your lungs, the back parts of your thoracic cage. On the inhalation, maybe you feel a bit more pressure, contact into the floor. And the exhalation's really just a letting go, some muscles recoil. Smooth, easy, gentle, mindful. And keeping that attention just for a bit longer at the back side of your rib cage, posterior part, where your lungs are bigger. And then shifting your awareness to the lateral sides of your rib cage, between your sides of your body and your arms, if they're by your sides. And initiate some movement there laterally, the inhalation, expansion laterally, pause, and just a softening and a recoil. And you might also, when you're doing your exhalation, put in there that you might be letting go of some unnecessary tensions, physical, emotional. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. And shifting your awareness now, initiate the movement of the air coming into your lungs from the front part of your rib cage, anterior part. Probably the part of our rib cage that we're a bit more intimately in relationship with. Breathing in, pausing, softening as you recoil, breathing out. No right nor wrong. Really important, no right nor wrong. And now taking your awareness to your rib cage as one functioning unit, the front, the back, the sides, up, down, and allow for some movement to happen in the whole of your rib cage as one functioning unit. The inhale, pause, and the exhale, pause. Whole of your rib cage, one functioning unit, front, the back, sides, up, down. And now shifting your attention, imagine that you have a ball or a sphere that's just below your rib cage, just below your xiphoid process. And as you inhale, that ball expands It expands upwards, downwards, sideways, forwards, back. And the movement will incorporate some change in the shape in your belly and also the change in the shape in your rib cage, and allow yourself just the freedom of movement initiating from that place just below your xiphoid process. And see what happens for you with that breath. Allowing that movement to accommodate some change in your belly, in your thoracic cage. And then just allow your breath for a moment to do just what it wants to do, no particular focus. And then mindfully, with same care and attention, allow yourselves to slowly come to a standing position, just feeling how your weight gets distributed, how you move your body. Think about how your skeleton might move, how your skeleton supports you in your movement. And come to standing. So for those of you who were here this morning with Tim's class, you'll see some of the things that will echo and what we did this morning. So, and for me, this is just going to do a little bit of standing, just a tiny bit of Qigong work. And for me, this is a really important part of my practice, that just a real integral part of my own practice. And I spend a lot of time looking at standing. So the Wuji stance that we were exploring, if you have your feet parallel, you're about a fist width apart. So it means that the weight of my upper frame and my body is coming down, my hips coming down my legs. And just for a moment, as you're standing here, take your awareness to your soles of your feet, your heels, the outside of your feet, balls of your feet. And just gain that connection that there is there with the earth, with the floor. And then with this awareness, just allow yourself to go forwards a bit, putting more weight on your toes, then coming back to more weight on your heels. But don't need to move too much, just enough for your body tissues to start adjusting to that slightly off balance place. So just oscillating back and forth easily. And then now come to a place that for you feels neither forward nor back. And back until your feet on the floor, ankles soft. Feel the weight of your lower legs, 2 bones in your lower legs supporting you, your knees very gently unlocked. Feel the support of the massive bone of your upper leg, supporting the weight of your body, relaxing as much as possible your buttocks, thighs. Have your arms just very gently dangling by your sides. Back relaxed, shoulders relaxed, allowing your arms just to dangle. Chin may be very gently tucked in your chest. And just have a little scan in your body and see where your default patterns of holding on are. And can you allow that tension that might be any unnecessary tension, can you let go of that musculature by changing micro changes of the way that you are in relationship to your skeleton, keeping you in this uprightness. Jaw relaxed, brain quiet. Quiet mind as much as possible, allowing thoughts to just come and go, don't give them too much energy. And now just going side to side. So as you go to one side, feel a bit of tension on that side of the foot, feeling that line of energy going up to your hip. And then oscillate back and forth, just feeling that change and that distribution of weight, that line of energy that within the skeletal system that's still keeping us right, going off center, left and right. Movements don't have to be much. And then now come to a place now that's neither left nor right, nor forward nor back for you. And again, see how you can adjust your skeleton so that you can soften any of this unnecessary musculature. Most of us hold, we're probably too muscular dominant in our standing, in the things that we do. For me, the standing has been one of the most nourishing parts of my practice. I spend a lot of time just exploring how I can be here, like in a standing meditation. Ankles soft, feeling the support of your lower legs, knees, upper legs, hips, buttocks, soft, lower back, mid back, upper back, shoulders, scapula, jaw very slightly open, chin maybe gently tucked in your chest. These are just suggestions for you. You do what works for you. Most important thing really in this is just how can I be more upright with the least amount of effort? Because the more muscles we use, the more demand on oxygen there is. And then from this position, we're going to do a couple of Qigong exercises. And if you are familiar with it, please go ahead and follow me. If you're unfamiliar, maybe just watch me a couple of times or watch me once. So I'm going to do Lift in the Sky. And this is how it looks. I'll do it first and then I'll explain to you. So as I bend my feet in this position, fist width apart, my head bows down, my arms are extended, my fingers are pointing towards each other, my fingers are open. And then on an inhale, I'm lifting my arms up, looking through my fingers. And when I'm in my upright position, I pause with my breath. I push up, and then on an exhale, through my mouth, my arms come down. So my head bows, my arms are extended, my fingers pointing towards each other, fingers are open. Inhale, looking through my fingers as I'm coming up. I pause with my breath. I push up. Exhale. So it doesn't change, it's simple. Inhale, and just at your own pace. Exhaling through your mouth. So synchronizing the movement, your body, focus of your mind with your breath. The 3 pillars of yoga. In a Qigong movement. And now while you're doing this movement, maybe imagine that your arms are floating up in water so that you actually take the effort away from the movement so it becomes maybe less musculature. So allowing your arms to kind of come up as though they're floating in water, effortless as much as possible, or the right amount of effort. Exhaling through your mouth. And as you're doing this, maybe about another 4, 5, 6 times, don't worry so much about the form. But just maybe enjoy just the movement with the breath, with the focus of your mind. And then we're going to do it a couple more times. And then when your arms are now next by your sides, just come back to standing again and go through your body, feeling the soles of your feet, ankles, lower legs to your knees. Soften your knees, thighs, buttocks. And you might just scan back to your feet again, seeing how present you are with your feet on the floor, lower back, mid back, shoulders, jaw, brain. And the next one we do a slightly different variation, or slightly different from this morning. This is called Carrying the Moon. It's very similar to the butterflies that we did this morning. So I'm going to first of all fold my body forward like this. My arms are dangling near my knees. And I'm going to breathe in as I'm coming up. My palms are in this shape. And when I come up to this position, that's carrying the moon. I pause with my breath and I exhale. So I'm going to slightly more back off center. Forward bending, inhale, coming up. Pause in, exhale through your mouth. And again, if it works for you, just imagining that your arms are floating up in water. So again, you take unnecessary muscular effort out of the picture, and then start allowing the movement to move you as much as you can. And in Qigong, just breathing out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth, and it's a bit of a the most important thing, as Tim said this morning, is just enjoy it. There's no right nor wrong. And that whole notion of kindness that we've been exploring for months now, really important. So do it so that you enjoy it, do it with kindness, be kind to yourself. There's no right nor wrong. And a couple more times. And then when your arms are then next by your sides, come back again to standing. And if we just do a little bit of a forward bend with our upper thoracic cage, folding my arms. Just going to do a bit of movement, flexion, extension. And as you're bending forwards in this movement, breathe into the backs of your lungs. And then exhale, coming up. Inhale, backs of your lungs. Exhale. Inhale, backs of your lungs. But then start allowing this movement to extend so that you end up doing a forward bend. And as you're doing your forward bend, as you compress your belly, don't think about doing a belly breath, but take your air into your lungs at the back. And then from this position, let's come to a tabletop. So that's an exhale, an inhale bending forwards, and then an exhale coming back up. So if you're used to doing belly breathing, normally when you forward bend, you'll be exhaling. But when we're forward bending, it's an inhale, backs of your lungs. Exhale, tabletop. Inhale, backs of your lungs. Exhale, coming up, continue this movement just for a while, just exploring that movement that you can have your lungs at the back. And then when your arms are when you're next standing, arms by your sides. And let's just come down to kneeling on the floor. How's everyone doing? Thumbs up. So if kneeling is a little bit uncomfortable for you, you can sit cross-legged or sit on a bolster. And we're going to look at just exploring the way that our spine moves. So just a real quick review if you know your anatomy, but the lumbar spine, the facets are vertical, which means that my lumbar spine can really, it likes forward bending and backward bending because the facets are vertical in their orientation. There's a fair bit, maybe 25 up to 25% movement of side bending, but rotation's only up to about 5%. So if I rotate my lumbar spine, it can only move 5% because the facets of the joints are limiting my movement and the ligaments also limiting the movement. But then when we come up to my thoracic spine, they're vertical orientation. Sorry, they're oblique. So it allows for rotation. There's a bit of restriction because of the rib cage, and then your neck rotates freely because it doesn't have the rib cage, and they're also oblique. So looking at the exploration of that, keeping your torso facing forward, also your head facing forward, place one hand behind your back without twisting. And the other hand goes on the opposite knee again without twisting. And from this position, allow yourself just to move into a rotational movement to engage your lumbar and feel how your lumbar engages. So you can feel the fascia and the ligaments start to restrict it. You feel that tightening up and then just come back to looseness. So that sensation of that tightening is really the end range of my voluntary range of motion, but then I can pull a bit more and I can go slightly into the end range of motion, slightly into the involuntary range. And that's as far as we really want to go. But it's really just having a relationship with the ligamental tensions. And then when you engage your lumbar, then start looking at moving your thoracic cage as well. So that I'm going to then rotate my thoracic cage from my lower back up to my upper back and my neck, and then I recoil. So coming back again to lumbar, feeling how that engages, and then think about that movement of your spine, your lower spine, mid-spine, upper spine, neck. And is it possible to move this really smooth and free? Feeling some easeful movement, not taking it. And can you move your spine vertebra by vertebra? Or there's some areas that feel a bit restricted or you don't have much sensations. And then swap hands over. So again, keeping your torso facing forward, head facing forward, the other hand goes behind your back gently, the other one on the opposite knee. This gets me into my rotational movement. So now, what does that feel like when I just engage my lumbar? So now I've engaged my lumbar, and for me, I feel more sensation on the right side. And then there's the thoracic lumbar junction as I start to rotate my lower thoracic, mid thoracic, upper thoracic, neck. And then recoiling neck, upper thoracic, mid-thoracic, lower thoracic, lumbar. And then explore. So this is really this is the way that our spine is designed to move. Your neck moves more, thoracic moves a bit less, but more than your lumbar in this rotational movement. And my lumbar, the ligaments quickly engage because the facets are vertical. And swapping hands over again. So coming back to the other side. And one of the things that we've been exploring as well is choices. So we moved and we engaged in a particular way then, but let's think about moving this rotational movement, initiating the movement from your musculature and see if that changes the way that you move. It's the same principle of engagement, lumbar, lower thoracic, mid-thoracic, upper, but more from muscles. Maybe that feels quite familiar for you. Swapping hands over. Each side's going to be different. The facets of our joints, of the spine on one side are different from the other side. Because partly to do with just the spiralic nature of our skeletal system, our whole system, and more difference in the weight distribution inside of us in terms of our organs. And then swapping hands over once more the other side. And just have yourself in the position ready. And this time as you start to rotate lumbar, think about moving with kindness, and how does that change the way that you move? Are you slower, more careful? So just being really kind to you on every level. There's no competition, no right nor wrong. If you feel a sensation that's not right nor wrong, that's just what it is in this moment. Kindness. Can you move with kindness? And then swapping sides over again, once more this side. Kindness. Move with kindness. How does that change the way that your relationship with moving, relationship with your mind and your body? Don't think so much about the form, but just moving rotationally with kindness. And then just coming back with your hands on your thighs, just facing forwards for a moment. If you do need to move at any stage, if you're kneeling too long, we're not going to kneel much longer, but please do. I just want to look at exploring movement of your breath. So the front of your spine, deep back in your body, the bulky part of your spine, you have an anterior longitudinal ligament that spans the whole of your spine, from your coccyx all the way to the top of your jaw, which is actually into your mouth. And if we were to cut that ligament, the spine would concertina up. So in an energy that's innate within our spine is this movement up. There is a cavity difference as well, but just if we look at the spine and this movement. So can you think about initiating your breath as you're flexing, it's like a cat-cow seated, but allowing the movement of your spine and your breath at the front of your spine to initiate this movement. And if we were to cut the ligaments of the back of the spine, the posterior longitudinal ligaments, your spine would collapse. So so if you exhale in the back of your spine and inhale front of your spine, and just explore that for a while, using that innate energy that's there within our spine, inhale coming up. And if you're unsure of the locations, yours doesn't really matter, because your own internal wisdom will know what to do. And the more you practice these things, the more aware you become of the movement potentials. And then from here, come into a cat-cow position. You can have your toes flat on the floor, you can have them curled, just as different sensation, different engagement. Shoulders above your wrists, hips above your knees. And just for a moment in this position here, feel your fingers and hands, palms of your hands, heel of your hands on the floor, wrists. And feeling what your lower two bones in your arms are doing to keep you supported. And can you let go of any muscular tensions that's not needed? Feel the engagement also, your elbows and how they're supporting you, and your bones of your upper arms to your shoulder. Shoulder, maybe your scapula, and scapula all the way around to your sternoclavicular joint, where your sternum and clavicle meet. And just feel how your skeleton here is keeping you in the shape. The appendicular part of your skeleton, which is your freely movable part, keeping you steady, firm, feeling the weight in your knees, from your thighs, from your lower pelvic area. And just take your awareness to your hip joint, the ball and the socket, and start doing some real micro movement circles. And when I'm doing this movement for myself, I'm kind of imagining that and it's not just in imagination, but I visualize the ball of my joint massaging the internal surface of the socket of my joint. And then I can also sense that the socket of my joint is massaging the ball, and just allowing that movement to increase as you extend one of your hips sideways, coming forwards, and just allowing some circle movement exploration of your hip joint, smooth and easy. You might feel there's some tensions in some places. You might want to lean forward more, going back more. And as you start to explore the movement here of your hip joint, how that's moving and how your knees are moving to accommodate it, how your legs go to the side, and just allow for some almost random snake-like movements to happen also up your spine, and initiating that movement from that relationship that you're having with your head of your femur and then the acetabulum, your hip joint. And also included in this movement may be some cat-cow, so some flexion, extension, snake-like movement, engaging your hip joints. So just allow for yourself to explore how you want to move. When you feel a tension, you move on from it. And maybe think about fluid and water, because water takes the course of least resistance. As soon as you feel some resistance, maybe that's a clue for moving on to exploring that movement of water. And then in a minute we're going to do, if you're comfortable to do it, we're going to do a down dog. So maybe just slow down that movement until you come to a pause, and then think about where your arms need to do, your hands. You need to push down more. And if you push down more with your hands, do you feel that going up your arms, your scapula and your sternoclavicular joint? Feel that engagement ready. Don't come off the ground, but feel that pressure that's ready. Gently pushing with your feet. And as you bring your knees away from your hands, allow your buttock to come in the air, coming into a down dog. Feeling that connection that you have all the way from your hands, supporting you, your arms to your scapula, and your feet all the way to your hips, and maybe just a bit of pedaling back and forth for a while. And then allowing yourself to come into a high plank momentarily. And then dropping your knees to the floor as wide as your yoga mat. And then allow yourself to come down into an extended child pose for a moment. And while you're in your extended child pose, see if you can again focus with the movement of your breath in your lungs at the back. And if you're a predominant belly breather, maybe it's a bit challenging for you. It's good because having versatility of movement of breath and air, and having the ability to be an abdominal breather and a thoracic breather is going to really support you in your exploration of yoga and movement. So inhaling and exhaling, lungs at the back. And maybe if you like, with your exhale, you can think more about letting go again of unnecessary physical and emotional tensions. And from this extended child pose, allow your arms to come along the floor. Your legs go away from each other. And we're going to come into a little mini cobra. And while you're in your mini cobra, just feel what's happening with your hands. So for me, my hands aren't really doing much. My fingers, my wrists aren't. A little bit of my lower arm, but they're quite close to my elbows. My elbows seem to be doing a lot of the work just to keep me present. And then I can feel that engagement going up my arm to my shoulder joint. And I can feel some scapular and clavicle engagement. And while you're in this position, again, think about that exploration, if it works for you, breathing in front part of your spine and exhaling back part. So the inhale has got some stir to it, some stability, but keeping the form and the shape, your exhale is more like sukha, softness, letting go of your back, tensions, belly, inhale front. Exhale, back, softening. And then allow your elbows to go away from each other and your forehead to the floor. And keeping one of your knees on the floor, but gently cock it to the side. And if you're unsure, I'm demonstrating this so you can see it's quite straightforward, really. And if you want to, because it's kind of interesting, keeping your forehead on the floor and your nose squashed a wee bit. And with your leg cocked to the side, where are your tensions? Are you feeling it in your ankles, your knees? Is there something in your hip? You feel it more in your lower back, sacrum area, sacroiliac joint? And while you're here with your breath, maybe have a focus on the movement of your breath, the front part of your rib cage in contact with the floor. And also just a letting go of tensions. And then keeping that knee on the floor
return that in length, and then allow that other knee to be cocked to the side. And if you're comfortable, again, keeping your forehead on the floor and your nose a bit squashed. And just allow yourself to soften as much as possible with your shoulders, with your neck, your head, your hips, your knees, your buttocks. And then returning that leg in length. And we're going to, in a second, we're going to bring our elbows together, coming up to another mini cobra. But start the movement with a breath. So as you breathe in first and then move. So I'm going to breathe in deep down my coccyx, front part of my spine. And then I start to do my movement. So I'm using my breath to support the movement. And also that energy that's within the front part of my spine. And then exhaling the back. And as I exhale, softening my lower back, my lumbar, my belly, inhale front. Exhale back. Inhale front. Exhale back. Softening. Elbows away from each other. Again, forehead to the floor. And again, cocking one leg to the side. And maybe putting your head cheek on the side of that. If you feel that you have some tightness in your neck, you might choose not to do this. Sometimes it feels quite nice to engage that ligamental tension in your neck as well, if it's not too tight or too compromised. And where's your default pattern of holding on? Is it in your hip? Is it in your buttocks? Or are you just free and you can just enjoy? Maybe you can enjoy it anyway. And then returning that leg in length. Forehead on the floor, cocking the other side, leg to the side, and then allowing that cheek also to lie inside. Seeing where your breath is it the front part of your body? Are you belly bulging, breathing? Can you take your breath and your mind's eye to areas where you're holding on tensions? And then returning that leg in length, forehead to the floor, coming up to another mini cobra, initiated by my breath first. I'm breathing in, I'm moving, elbows come towards each other. And what does that feel like? Is your mini cobra easier now? Is it harder? Steer the front part of your spine, keeping that form, letting go back part of your spine, sukha. If you find an area of your back that's really flexible and you might want to look at either side of that area. If you find an area tight, you might want to look either side. And again, forehead to the floor, elbows away from each other. And once more, cocking your leg to the side, head goes on the side if that works for you. And just letting go as much as you can. Just let go of any unnecessary tensions. Let go as much as you can. And returning that leg in length, forehead to the floor, cocking your other leg to the side again, and your head if that works for you. And again, just letting go, wherever it is you feel you're holding on, can you just keep letting go? And if you can't, let's be okay with that too, because it's all part of our own journey. As much as possible, keep just letting go. and returning that leg and length, forehead to the floor, breathing in, moving, using the energy in front of your spine, exhaling back of your spine, inhale front, exhale back. Really encouraging you to have a relationship with the front part of your spine as well, the weight-bearing part. So awakening our appreciation of that part of our spine. Forehead to the floor, arms away from each other. And now place your hands about shoulder height and pushing yourself off the floor, feeling the amount of energy you need for that. And come back to an extended child pose, leaving your arms in length and just allowing your buttocks to slowly come to your heels, and maybe feeling your arms being extended, maybe feeling some sensations of your scapula pulling on the muscles behind the scapula, pulls onto the ribs. And just allowing your buttock just to come to your heels. And then in some mindful way for yourselves, let's find ourselves just lying on our backs again. And we do a little bit of movement on the back. And just checking how everybody's doing. How are you all? Thumbs up. So lying down on your backs, please have a little pillow under your head if you need to, so that your neck isn't extended too much. And have your feet in constructive rest so that your feet are flat on the floor, your knees pointing to the ceiling. And just for a moment, just settle here, feeling your feet connected with the floor, your lower back on the floor, mid-back, shoulders, tops of arms, elbows, head. And allow your legs just to go to the left and then to the right, but just about half an inch, and then do an inch, and then do 2 inches, and just slowly going, allowing your legs to go to the right, a little incrementally more each time, come into upright, go into the left, upright. And as you go to the other side, allow maybe your exhalation to go to the side. And when you feel some engagement, pause at that engagement. Allow yourself with the pause of your breath to go deeper into the engagement. And on an inhale, bringing your legs up. So you're using the inhalation of your breath to bring your legs up. Pause when they're upright. Exhale, go on the other side. Feel a little bit of fascia connection, doesn't have to be a lot. Pause with your breath. That pause of the breath goes slightly deeper into the engagement and then back to upright. And just allow your legs just to oscillate back and forth, gently, smooth, mind and breath orientated. And key here is that if you feel any judderiness, any areas that aren't so smooth, is there something that you can do to create some more smoothness? And if there's not, then it just gives you some indication that some of these kind of very gentle postural muscles have some tension in them that maybe over a period of time can soften. So this is pretty big muscular movement. Using your breath, inhale, exhale. And when you find your legs close to the floor on one side, maybe one leg's on the floor, leave that leg on the floor And on an inhale, start bringing your other leg up. And the only time that your leg on the floor joins in is when you feel that fascia engagement between the two parts of your ilium. And then that leg comes up, and then the opposite leg goes to the floor. So you're having a relationship between your two parts of your pelvis, the two iliums. Smooth, easeful, breath orientated. And then when your legs are then both upright, just pause for a moment. And now cross your right leg over your left leg. And allow that movement to happen when your legs go just to the right. So your right leg's over your left. On an exhale, both legs go towards the floor. When you feel a tension, pause. And as smooth as you can, breath orientated, mind orientated, bringing your legs to upright, pausing, exhaling. So it's giving you a relationship with your muscles, with your fascia and with your ligaments, not so much dominated by big muscles. So how is my hips moving in relationship to my sacroiliac joint, in relationship to my lumbar, in relationship to my knees and ankles. And then when your legs are then next upright, again uncross your legs and fold, cross your right leg, left leg over your right leg, so they're very snug again. And allowing that movement. Now just to the left. As soon as you feel some tension, just pause there. It doesn't have to be big. And then on an inhale, come back up. Exhale to the side. As soon as you feel some engagement, pause with your breath. Allow your legs to go slightly deeper into that engagement. And then back up. So you can use all of this kind of knowledge of your experience of fascia and ligamental engagement to support you in all yoga that you do. And if you're careful with it, the chances of injury are going to be much, much less, because you're not going to take your ligaments and your fascia to a place that they don't really want to go. And then when your legs are then upright, uncross them. And just like everybody else has been saying, time has really gone very quickly. So we're going to come into a Shavasana. So please just make yourself a bit even more comfortable than you are. Please get a blanket on you or a jumper. And if you're comfortable, just lying there as you are. But I think keeping your body temperature is really important, particularly because it's towards the end of the day now for us. And just take a moment just to scan your body, and is there something else that you could do just to make yourself that tiny bit more comfortable? Or are you going to just be okay with whatever is, because being okay with whatever is a really good thing too. Didn't quite know my words then. And now, no particular agenda, just letting go, just being present, being nourished by all the work that you've done. Those of you who've been here all day, allow the work that you've done just to really support you, nourish you, real deep into your bones,
to your core. And keep letting go. Just keep letting go as much as you can. Allowing yourself, if it works for you, to drift off in that twilight zone between wake and asleep. And be nourished by you, be nourished by the work that you've done. Allowing the quiet moments to really support you. And then maybe very slowly start coming back to maybe hearing sounds, maybe of my voice. Maybe you can hear the music in the background, the sounds that are close to you. What's the most distant sound locally to you that you can hear? Can you hear the silence? And then maybe feeling sensations in your body, maybe the hands, if they're cooler than the rest of your body, your face. Fingers moving, toes. And slowly opening your eyes, but just with a soft gaze to start off with. And with the same care and attention, come to seated. Thanks everybody for joining us for today. Namaste, and kindness to you. Namaste.